This is another session on animal words. However, we are going to be going over a whole new group of words today that are related to animal names in some way. So it's a slightly different connection to animals than last week. And we're also going to go over some of the vocabulary that you learnt last week and some synonyms of those words, so that if you're doing the 11 plus, then you not only know a whole bunch of new words, but you know their synonyms as well. So let's get into it. Our first set of words and definitions are all animal names. So a lot of these are linked to the animal that they're named after, so they're linked to the behaviour of that animal, and some of them have nothing to do with that. But let's go through the definitions and we'll discuss which are which. First of all, we have flounder. Flounder is a flat fish. In The Little Mermaid, if you've seen that, there is a character called Flounder. He is a fish, although he looks very different to the real flounder fish. In a second, stay tuned and I will show you what some of these animals look like, just in case you're not sure. I wanted to talk about a couple of other animals before we get into this, just to discuss what they are. So fawn is one that perhaps some of you haven't heard before. A fawn is a baby deer. We also have leech, which some of you may not have heard of before. A leech is a dark worm-like animal that actually sucks the blood of other animals to keep it alive. They can be used in medicine, and there was a very interesting video for kids that my pupils watched this week in preparation for their vocabulary class that I will put the link to in the description, because it would definitely be good for you to watch that video about leeks. It's kind of gross, but you will learn a lot and you'll get an understanding of where this word comes from. Finally, we have lark. A lark is a bird, and in literature, a lark is usually associated with daybreak, so first thing in the morning. Now here, as promised, are some pictures of the animals that I've just mentioned. So this is the flounder fish. See, it looks very different to the yellow and blue fish in The Little Mermaid. This is a lark. This over here, you can just about see, is a fawn with its mother doe. A doe is a female deer. And over here we have a ram. We're going to be talking about a ram in a second as well. So a ram is a male sheep and it has horns here, which are important when it comes to the meaning of the word ram. I have an example sentence for flounder, which may help you to figure out the meaning. So the example sentence is, he was floundering around the shoreline like a fish out of water. So what do you think that could mean? You're floundering around the shoreline like a fish out of water. A fish out of water would usually be struggling, wouldn't it? Because it's supposed to be in the water. So floundering is to do with struggling. So you can write down these definitions on paper. It is to struggle with stumbling movements, or to struggle clumsily or helplessly. Now the reason I've got two different definitions here, even though they're similar, is because the first one is to do with how you move, so you perhaps look uncomfortable and awkward, and the second is to do with more of a mental struggle. So you might flounder helplessly with your schoolwork if you don't understand it, for example, and there's no one there to help you. So do write down both so that you can remember it can be a physical struggle and a mental struggle. Now I've got the word crow here, but we're actually not talking about crow the bird. We're talking about the crow sound that a cock makes. Now if you remember our last video, we were saying that the movement that a cock makes is a strut. So they are known to strut around the farm. And we were saying that strutting is an arrogant walk. So the cock walks around kind of like he owns the place. And then a cock crows in the morning. So when they say cockle-doodle-doo, that is called a crow. So crowing is to gloat or boast, which is fitting for an animal that struts. So to crow is to gloat or boast, to show off. For example, you may say, we all know you've won, there's no need to crow about it, so stop gloating. And to crow can also be a cry of joy, but it's a cry of joy like an infant would make, or like a baby would make. So it's not a cry of joy with words, but rather just a noise. Now, to badger someone is to bother them. For example, you may say, I wanted to stay inside to play video games, but I've been badgered into going to the park instead. So perhaps someone nagged and pestered you. So you can write down to badger is to pester or harass. If you're not familiar with those words in the definition, you may want to write down something like to hassle, annoy, or even to bug, like as in you're bugging me. Stop bugging me. Stop going on at me. What I would recommend, just to stretch your vocabulary, is maybe you write down a word that you know and a word that you don't know for this definition. Next up, we have fawn. Oopsie. Fawn. So as I said before, that is a baby deer. Now, some of my pupils did a class on male and female animals this week, the masculine and feminine words, and the young animals, so the baby words. Why don't you let me know in the comments if you would like to see that on YouTube, and I will make a video if enough people would like to see it. So for now, we'll talk about the meaning of the word fawn. Now, this actually doesn't have anything to do with the animal. It's a homonym, so it's a word that is written the same, said the same, but they have two different meanings. So, to fawn over someone, you might say, when a dog fawns over someone, they may rub up against that person's leg and seem eager to please that person. So it's to kind of suck up to someone, for want of a better word. So let's put it in nice vocabulary words. So to flatter someone and be extra nice, usually so they will give you special treatment. So you might give them lots of compliments. You might be very complimentary so that they will favour you in some way. So that's fawning over someone. Now, leeches, like I said, they suck blood from other creatures to survive. And so to leech off someone, it can have a couple of different meanings, one of which is to just hold on, because when a leech is sucking blood, they have to hold on tightly to that person. You can't shake it off. So it's to cling on to someone and not let go, like a baby might with its mother. But leech can also mean to benefit from someone else's hard work. So if you got through school by copying someone else and you didn't do any work yourself, that would be leeching off them. Or perhaps if you always take money from someone, that would be leeching from them as well. So let's reveal the definition here. To rely on others and unfairly benefit from their hard work. You might want to write that as definition number 1, and then you can also write for number 2, to cling on. Now, don't forget, you can pause this video if you need some extra time to write these definitions down. It's good for you to write the definitions though, because it will help it to stick in your memory. Now, lastly on this page, we have lark. Lark has a lot of different meanings, and most of them are to do with some sort of mischief or activity. So here we go. It can be used as a noun, something done for fun, usually mischievous. So I went because I thought it would be a lark, you might say. So that would be the first definition. Second, we have to have fun by being mischievous. So you may say to someone, stop larking about and take this seriously. And third, you can have another noun, something regarded as a waste of time. Your parents might say, I wish you'd give up this acting, lark, and take your studies seriously, for example. Now I've just got 3 more animal words for us to go to before we get into some synonyms work. So we've got hound, ram, and hermit. A hound is a type of dog. They're used for hunting purposes because they have an incredible sense of smell, and that means that they are able to track other animals, they follow the other animals, lead the humans to the animals that they want to hunt. So a hound would be used in fox hunting, for example. We'll come back to the meaning of that word in just a second. Just quickly, we also have ram, which is a male sheep. So it's a sheep with horns. That's how you can tell that it's the male and not the female. And then we have hermit. Now this is a bit of a cheat word because a hermit is not a particular type of animal exactly, but you can get hermit crabs. And the word hermit in hermit crabs has the same origin and a similar meaning to the word hermit here. So to help you to remember what hermit means, you might want to think of the hermit crab. Now let's get into these definitions. So hound, my example sentence here is Prince Harry complained of being hounded by photographers. Now I know he's not technically a prince anymore, but when he was hounded by them, he felt. So they followed him like a hound dog would follow their prey, for example. So to hound is to harass or pursue relentlessly. Now you may not know the meaning of some of those words, so let's talk about them. So harass is to bother someone, to be a nuisance and keep bugging them. So that's similar in meaning to badger, which we just discussed. And then to pursue is to follow someone, to go after them. So when you write this definition, you might want to replace pursue with follow. And then relentlessly. If you relent, you give up. So if you are relentless, you don't give up. You just keep going no matter how much of a problem you're being or how many problems you encounter. So to hound is to follow someone without giving up. Or you can write the definition from here, to harass or pursue relentlessly. The dictionary gave the word provoke as a synonym of hound. And you may remember provoke from one of our earlier videos. That was to call forward an emotion, particularly anger, so to make someone angry on purpose. Now on to ram. This word is very much linked to the animal that it's named after. So rams, the male sheep, are known to fight each other, and when they fight, they will charge and crash into each other and crash their horns into each other. So to ram is to make a similar kind of movement as that charging, forceful movement into something. So you can write here to push firmly, or to hit with great force. So if you ram something into a small space, you're really pushing it firmly, or it can be to hit with great force. For example, if you needed to open a locked door, you might ram it. And the police have battering rams. They have these huge poles that they can use to bash into something to break it open. Finally, we have hermit. Hermit comes from the Greek word for solitary. A hermit crab gets its name from the fact that it has a tendency to live in a shell. So it picks up a shell that it finds on the beach and then curls up and lives in there. So it can hide away from people. And that's basically what being a hermit means. It's a person that isolates themselves, a recluse. So they stay back in their house. So a recluse and hermit are synonyms. Recluse comes from shut, and re comes from back. So it's someone that shuts themselves back in their house and hides away. Now we're going to match up the words in the box here with their synonyms. So we've got 2 synonyms for each word, and these are the words that we did in last week's videos. So if you haven't watched those yet, definitely go back. I'll put a link in this description. Go back and watch those so that you can do a good job with matching up the synonyms here. And what you might want to do now is pause the video, give this a go yourself, and then you can press play and see how many you got right. So let's just discuss the meanings of some of these words. Manipulative. Now this is a word that's come up already in our course. Mani came from hand. To manipulate something is to change it with your hands. So you might manipulate clay and you change the form of it, but you can also manipulate people. Not that you should. So to manipulate people is to try to change them and get them to do what you want them to do. So without them even realizing it, you might get them to do what you want them to do. And that is called manipulative. So, which word do you think could go with manipulative? We have ponderous, which was to move clumsily and with great weight. Agile, which was able to move skillfully and swiftly. Obstinate, which meant stubborn. Timid, which meant shy. And cunning, which meant sly, and like you would plot behind someone's back, for example. So, manipulative goes with cunning. Okay, and then lumbering. You may remember that lumber was the movement that a bear is known to make. So it was a heavy, clumsy movement, making it like ponderous, which was used for elephants last week. If someone is meek, they will be obedient. Perhaps they won't speak up and they'll just do as they're told. So meek would go with timid, as you may have guessed. Okay, cross those out as we put them in. That's good exam practice when you're doing that. Now nimble. Nimble, you move quickly. You may have heard the nursery rhyme that says, Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack jump over the candlestick. So you have to be quick and move easily to be nimble. So nimble goes with agile. Then we have mulish. Mulish comes from the word mule. Mule was half donkey, half horse. And you may remember that one of these words was associated with donkeys because they were stubborn. And so mulish means the same thing. So obstinate is the word that it goes with. It's stubborn, acting like a mule that won't move. Fearful goes with timid. Graceful, so moving elegantly and beautifully, goes with agile, so to move easily and gracefully. Ungainly, we talked about last week. Now the root of this is gainly, which is an old-fashioned word that we don't use anymore, meaning graceful, but ungainly is a word that we still use. So ungainly means that you are not graceful, meaning that it goes with ponderous, ungainly. Now artful, it means that you come up with tricks, you're crafty. If you've watched the film Oliver, you may know the character the Artful Dodger. So he is good at stealing things because he's cunning. So artful goes with cunning. And then finally, pig-headed means you are stubborn, and pig-headed goes with obstinate, therefore. It's just on a piece of paper. Make sure you've got all of those words and their synonyms down, and then use some of the techniques that we recommend in the other videos to try and memorise those words. Now, unfortunately, that's all we have time for today, but I would love to see some sentences from you using the words that we've talked about in this video. So, if you can, why don't you go to the comments and give me a few sentences using some of the words that we've used. You can pick any sentences you want from any part of this video. I would love to see them, and will reply as soon as I get them. Thank you so much for joining us today. As always, we have links to useful downloads in the description for this video, and you can get more hints, tips, downloads, videos, everything at kinlearning.com. Don't forget to please like this video, that would really help us out if it helped you, and to subscribe to the KinLearning YouTube channel so you're notified as soon as new videos are added. See you next time.